Good evening and welcome to this week's edition of Inside Red Dragon Sports. I'm your host, Geoff Hassard, Assistant Director of Athletics and Sports Information Director here at SUNY Oneonta. And as we continue our fall tour with a little spring mixed in tonight, we're going to talk about men's and women's tennis. So please join me after the break where I'll be joined by head tennis coach Lonnie Mitchell.
What makes D3 special is the ability to participate in my team and within the broader community.
The perfect ending to a perfect season.
Being a D3 student athlete has completely expanded my life.
I learned how to lead. I really found a voice.
What time is it?
It's more about the experience rather than just a sport itself.
Without the experience of being a Division III student athlete, I wouldn't be the person who I am today.
NCAA Division III. Discover, develop, dedicate.
Welcome back to the show. Joining me now in studio is head tennis coach Lonnie Mitchell. Welcome to the show.
Happy to be here.
Well, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Oh, I'd love to. How does a guy end up at Oneonta State? I'm from Long Island, born and bred, and had worked for many years in the private sector. I worked for the Walt Disney Company, and I worked for the Royal Caribbean International and Sandals and Beaches Resorts. And how could I end up as a tennis coach here in Oneonta? Because each and every day after work I used to go coach and teach tennis, and I did that for 25 years. It's always been my passion and love. The game of tennis has given me almost everything. And just being here, it's just been an unbelievable experience for me.
Now last year you were our interim coach during the spring, and of course we hired you full-time during the summer. What was the transition like? I mean, during the spring season, what were your priorities, as really a first-year college coach? I mean, what were the priorities in the spring as opposed to now trying to build yourself a program? So take us through that whole process.
That was quite an ordeal. I came here shortly after the beginning of the semester, and I walked in the door the first day, had practice that night indoors, and it was 3 weeks before the season began. And it really took me quite a while to get my arms around it, and I'm still getting my arms around it. Right. And the transition going from really being, I joke with my wife all the time. I said, I just went there to be a tennis coach. Right. And there's just so many details and things to learn. So I just learned from the other coaches. I learned from my players. I learned from my students. I had a wonderful assistant last semester who was a student and a player here, and right. I just tapped into her resource, and you just get your arms around it. It's sink or swim. And I had wonderful players, both on the men's team and the women's team, and right. That really helped me through the transition. Now you were able to, because of course the heavier the schedules, I mean, the fall is really the heavy women's schedule, even though both championships are in the spring for both the men and women. I mean, our SUNYAC champion for the women has to really wait until the spring to compete in their NCAA tournament. So I mean, how does that factor into how you prepare your teams for it's really a year-long sport? It is. I mean, tennis in of itself is a sport of a lifetime. You can play inside, you can play outside, you can play in the winter, and you can play in the spring. But really, as I get my arms around the program, and I came here for preseason over the summer after having gone from interim to full-time, which in of itself was a process. I just got prepared during preseason. I kept in touch with my captains over the summer, and just how I'm going to prepare for the preseason. Put together a new workout program with the help of one of my women players, and just constant tweaking and adjusting and communicating and open dialogue communication with my captains and players, and we just work together and we make it happen. And right now, in preparing, we're 6-3 as we go into the SUNY Championships this weekend, and we feel pretty good about our chances about being successful there. Now
it's a team tournament. They changed the format last year. It used to be just a individual flighted tournament, which one of our guests remembers because she played in that flighted tournament for a couple of years. What are the differences, do you think, in preparing for a team tournament as opposed to an individually flighted tournament?
Well, tennis in itself is pretty much in the context, it is an individual game. And personally, I don't think it's that much of a difference. You prepare the team, you're preparing the individual players. Right. Case closed. We've been practicing more or less every day. We haven't missed a practice, and so if they don't know what to do at this point, and we've seen all the teams that we're playing against,
Right.
we know who's good and maybe who's not as good. We know what to expect, and we just prepare accordingly. I have a wonderful new assistant coach who's been really another wonderful resource to tap into, and he's been great, and we bounce ideas off of one another, and we just do it.
Right. Now,
Yeah.
certainly, recruiting was certainly a new wrinkle added to your, your portfolio, so to speak, because you had never really had to recruit players. I mean, when you're a teaching professional teaching tennis lessons, I mean, people come, they pay to come see you to teach them how to play tennis. A little different now. You actually have to go out and find some really talented players and people who you think might fit into, your program and how you like to teach, coach tennis. What kinds of things, how has that made it different for you?
Well, it was interesting. When I first came and I interviewed for the job here, our athletic director was very concerned about my recruiting background, but after all these years, if I can't judge tennis talent,
Right.
There's something wrong. That's number one. Now, having said that, experience there's no substitute for experience. But I come from a sales and marketing background in addition to my tennis skills. So, you're selling a resort destination, you're selling a school.
Right.
And really, that's really what it comes down to. And I'm sold on SUNY Oneonta because I have a son that goes to this school. And prior to me even coming on staff here, we were recruited, he was recruited, so I know the process not only from a parent's side for both of my children, having my son gone to another school, but I know the process as a parent.
Yeah.
I know the process from a student's point of view because I did it when I was a youngster. So I'm now, it's a natural evolution that I'm on it from the coach's side. I think I have a pretty good idea as to what buzzwords the parents look for in a school. And the fortunate thing is that SUNY Oneonta has such a great reputation. It's getting better all the time. It's just a great place to go to school. I can say that as a coach here. I can say it as a staff member. Now I can even say it as a parent.
Right.
So it really adds extra
So for you, it
credibility.
was just adding to your sales background. Now, instead of selling, like you said, a week in the Bahamas, you're selling an education for 4 years for a student who wants to come here.
And a very good education. So the State University of New York, the system in of itself is the reputation is getting better all the time. And also, I've been a writer for Long Island and New York Tennis Magazine. My articles have been written and published. I've written and have my articles been published for the last 3 years. As a matter of fact, I'm working on an article right now. And I share some of those experiences. So in the bio, it says Lonnie Mitchell is now the head coach at SUNY Oneonta. People are contacting me. I see my article.
Yeah.
And so it's opened up a whole nother door of possible recruits. And having been immersed in the lower New York state of tennis, I kind of know where to fish for the talent. And we've had such a great men's and women's team here for the last couple of years and getting better all the time. I don't want to say it's easy. There's no free lunches anywhere, but I think we have a wonderful place to offer these students to go to school and a wonderful opportunity to play tennis on beautiful 12 courts in the mountains here.
Yeah. Now you said your son was recruited to come here by our past coach, and he ended up wanting to come here.
Yes.
What kind of discussions around the dinner table?
Well, the girls, it's very interesting. The ladies on the tennis court, he says, well, you two act like strangers. That was the dress rehearsal, and we're playing it to perfect. Tennis is a wonderful game in that you earn your spot. I don't have anything to do with that. I can coach players, but if his spot is earned, that it's not a starting, I'm at peace with that. He has to earn his spot. And he's a player like everybody else, and I treat him like all the other players. It's as simple as that. I gave him the choice once I got the job here. I said, we can start the process all over again. If he didn't want to play here, he wanted to come here, regardless of having his father around.
Right.
So, but it's a work in progress. But that was the conversation over the dinner table, and it's working quite well.
Now, did you ever, you taught lessons, but did you ever coach him at any other level? I mean, is this the first time you've actually coached your son in tennis?
Well, certainly I introduced him to the game. My father introduced me to the game, and I had lessons as a kid, and I passed that on to him. But just because of my teaching schedule and knowing that a parent really shouldn't coach their children over the long haul, I handed him off to somebody else. And even in the past year or two, he's gotten kind of distracted with his tennis. And I said, well, you know, if that's what you're going to do, you know, it's going to shake out at team time. So.
But like you said, it's a lifetime sport.
But it's a lifetime sport. It's not just 4 years of tennis here at SUNY Oneonta. My idea is to make the foundation of tennis even stronger here. But many of the players leave here and play competitive tennis on USTA teams. I saw several of our men players who just graduated from here over the summer. And I saw them all summer playing tennis, and I introduced them to other members of my family besides my son, and they're playing, and had them over at my house. And so it's a sport for a lifetime. SUNY Oneonta tennis is not 4 years of tennis, it's a lifetime of tennis.
Right, and it's just the beginning when they step on the campus as a freshman.
It's just the beginning, and some of our players have been playing for 10 years or longer, and it's just the beginning.
Now what, you know, let's just talk a little bit about, you know, briefly before we finish here. Men's and women's programs. Can you just maybe highlight a couple of the players, you know, as people peruse our website, you know, what are the names that are going to jump out for us for the casual fan? I mean, some of the players.
Well, I think you'll see, you're interviewing one of our captains today, Danielle. She's been a godsend. I'm so grateful to all the players that have been here as I transitioned to the role, and she was our MVP last year, and she's been injured, partially injured, and she plays through it and just shows by example. One of our other captains, Lauren Skolnick, she just won the Athlete of the Week award, and she's really grown and matured just in the short time that I've been here, and I'm so proud of her. And most of our players that were on the starting team last year, we had 6 starters last year, 5 came back to start, and we have some really nice young ladies who came in to push them a little bit. So, and they're contributing, and I almost like to say they may not start, but they're sort of we want them to be trained, and as this program continues to grow, I think they have a wonderful opportunity, our lower players, to grow into this program, to be sort of the foundation for years going forward under a new regime and so forth. And now the men are always a challenge. We have a great group of guys, and we don't have a conference.
Right.
I always say that's a double-edged sword. One, on the bad side, we don't have a conference, so to get an NCAA bid, it's a little bit more difficult. But 2, you can play anybody you want. Yeah. And because of that, we are playing probably one of the most difficult schedules at Division III. Yeah.
Well, we needed to do that, I think.
We needed to do that, and I'm actually very grateful to some of our past players who left here, who just graduated, our previous captains, and I sat down with them, and they said, and they gave me some suggestions, and I did some research and just all the things that I needed to do to learn about the program. And I actually sat down and I called and I emailed some of these coaches, some of the top coaches of some of these teams we're going to play. We're playing MIT next week. We're playing Amherst College, Little Amherst College in Massachusetts, which was at one time ranked #1 in the country for Division III. Yeah. And some other ones, the College of New Jersey and Middlebury. So we're taking our talent, and we're going to measure up of some of the best Division III talent, and I think hopefully we'll do well. But even if we don't do as well as I hope, I think that'll help us going forward, in that we're playing some of the best competition, that we can draw some of the best talent in the state, that they don't look at SUNY Oneonta as just a Division III men's state program, that we can compete with some of the best competition out there.
Yeah. Well, we certainly wish you the best of luck as we go forward. I mean, you know, the fall we kind of end the women a little bit, and then we gear it up in the spring with the men, but we do know that we compete, both men and women, in the spring or whatever.
Yes, so there's no rest for the weary around here.
No, and so I want to thank you for coming by tonight and wish you good luck all year long.
Oh, you're very, very welcome, and it's a pleasure to be here.
All right, thank you, Lonnie. I'd like to thank Lonnie for coming by tonight, and after the break, I'll be joined by senior captain of the women's tennis team, Danielle Borowski.
There are a million places you'd never consider texting. So why would you do it while driving? Leave risky driving to the professionals. Stop the texts, and together we can stop the wrecks.
Welcome back to the show. Joining me now in studio is SUNY Oneonta's weather girl, Danielle Borowski.
Hi, how are you?
How you doing?
Great, thank you.
Can you give us the weather for today?
It's actually going to rain later today, but sunny tomorrow.
Okay.
Rain's typical for Oneonta.
Of course, the cold weather's coming.
No.
And it's only the beginning of October.
The weather's weird.
And you can't help us with that.
I can, I'm sorry. I can just warn you about it.
Okay.
Just tell you.
You can warn us, but not make it any better.
I'm trying.
Well, welcome back to the show.
Thank
You're
you
like a
very
veteran. You've been on every year of the show, except one. I mean, the first year you were a freshman, right? So,
yeah.
But why don't you talk a little bit about the team first, and then we'll talk a little bit about your 4-year experience here as a student athlete.
All right, the team this year looks pretty great. A lot of new girls. It's half and half returning and half new girls. Strong players.
Right.
Looking to do big things this year.
Now, you've been a captain for a few years,
Yep.
and you've been all conference all 3 years. You've been playing for us. And, of course, I talked to Coach Mitchell about the whole flighted tournament, team tournament, because you were in the transition. Your first 2 years it was flighted.
Yeah.
And, this year and last year will be a team tournament. Do you prefer one or the other?
Personally, I prefer the flighted tournament just because each person can individually excel.
Right.
Whereas team, you have to believe in your team, which I obviously do.
Right.
But it's just a lot harder if you can get the certain wins there.
Right.
And then if you can win particular spots, then you can also win as a team.
Right.
So.
Now this year, right now we're currently 6-3. You said we had some new players and some veterans that came back for us. Every year, being a 4-year member of our team, what's it like to work with some new players in the program?
It's good. Personally, I just love helping people. And preseason, when we all have to stay in the dorms and help the new girls, I'm like, oh my God, so what questions do you have? Like anything I can help you telling, and just help them with all their questions and give them a little insight on how the sports work here and coaches.
Talk about academics and stuff like that?
Yeah, help them with classes and certain teachers to take and different stuff like that.
Now, did you ever think when you were a freshman that you'd be in that position to be the one that would be giving the advice?
Absolutely not. As a freshman, you're just like, oh my gosh, what's going on, college.
Yeah.
And I just can't believe I'm a senior. It flew by so fast.
It did.
Everyone told me it would, and here we are.
You never believe them, but. So your 4-year cumulative experience, what kinds of things, this obviously prospective recruits and student athletes who are looking at Oneonta can see this on YouTube and forever, right? So I mean, what would you tell someone who's looking at SUNY Oneonta, just as a college, but tennis? What would you tell them?
Academic-wise, it's a great school. It gets harder and harder to get into every single year, so if you can get in here, that's great. And athletic-wise, they push you here, but they also make sure that you are a student first. They always stress it's a student athlete, so they make sure you go to your classes first. That all comes before practice and games. So it's a great experience. I've always thought about trying to do a D1, what happens if I went to D1, but too happy with my experience here that.
So the whole Division III philosophy of discovering and developing and dedicating yourself to a sport, your chance to opportunities that maybe wouldn't be available at a Division I school, you've found that Division III was a great choice for you.
It helps you to be way more well-rounded, whereas D1 you kind of make your sport your life, but here you have friends, school, work, job, and.
Now, what other activities do you like to participate in besides the tennis? I mean, we talked to Coach Mitchell about it's a year-long sport, but I mean, what other things do you like to do in your spare time besides, look at the weather?
Well, I'm the weather girl for The Wire, and I like to listen to music and hang out with friends and just enjoy my experience.
Now, being involved in those kinds of clubs, I mean, are those opportunities that you certainly, were excited to be involved in?
Absolutely.
How many years have you been doing The Wire?
I was doing The Wire since second semester sophomore year.
Okay.
I've been in meteorology club since freshman year.
Yeah.
And
now, is that your ultimate goal? You want to be a weather person on the TV, or no?
Yeah, I'm going to start out with broadcasting just because, I don't know, I think that's fun. But I also want to work at an airport and kind of forecast for planes and do that kind of stuff. And eventually work at the Hurricane Center.
Uh-huh. Now, when you say broadcasting, you just mean weather or just any general kind of broadcasting?
Weather.
Oh, okay. Wow.
I could be a reporter too, I guess.
Yeah, no, you could. No,
I went to school for weather, so my dad would probably not be happy with that.
Well, but hey, if you can make money at it, right?
Yeah, right.
You can take my job. You can sit over here. You can.
Okay, I'm gonna switch.
One thing, what was your greatest memory from Oneonta?
Oh, you got to prepare me for these questions. Academic-wise or sports-wise?
Yeah, sports-wise. What was your?
I don't know. Just probably winning or making it to all-conference all 3 years. Just I live.
That is quite an accomplishment.
I live for SUNYACs. Like during preseason, I'm like SUNYACs, let's go.
Yeah, because back when they had the flighted individual tournament, like unless you won the SUNYAC championship, like as a freshman, you wouldn't even be on the all-conference team. No, you know what I mean. So I mean, for you to be able to do it all 3 years, kind of says a lot about your your commitment and your play in tennis. So certainly congratulations on that. And we hope that you stay healthy the whole year because we want you to finish strong. We know you had recently your last home fall match, which is kind of bittersweet, but you got some spring stuff, and you'll still have a chance to finish strong, and certainly you'll be up there as probably one of the all-time best female players we've ever had here. I'm sure once we figure out what all the all-time career records are. So we certainly want to congratulate you on a 3.5. We know it'll complete in 4 years. So thanks for coming by tonight.
Thank you so much.
All right. I'd like to thank Danielle for coming by tonight, and if the weather is incorrect, you can always call Danielle, not me. So please join me after the break, where I'll be joined by men's tennis player Mike Kennelly. Welcome back to the show. Joining me now in studio is men's tennis player Mike Kennelly. Welcome to the show, Mike.
Thanks for having me. Excited for our spring season, but still got a few more matches in the fall.
Right. So. Now, we talked to Coach Mitchell about how tennis is a year-long sport. You start kind of about maybe a few weeks into when we get back here on campus. You guys get organized and play a fall schedule. You guys play in the Flower City tournament, which we traditionally have done pretty well in. And then we play a couple of dual matches, and we kind of look forward to the spring season where we play anywhere from 10 to 15 matches. We go south. This year we're going to Hilton Head.
Yes, correct.
So that'll be some pretty good competition. I know there are a lot of good schools down there. What? Just let people know. Why don't you just let us know where you're from and what you're majoring in?
Majoring in business economics. From Irvington, New York.
Okay.
Played on the team there, so.
Now
played all those UCA tournaments too.
Right.
So.
Now we were talking off camera about individual sport athletes, and you said you ran cross country and you played tennis. And what's it like to be maybe classified as an individual sport athlete as opposed to someone who plays a team sport?
I don't know if it's entirely correct because I like to think about all my matches where if I lose,
right. It affects the team.
Yeah, the team's done.
Right.
That's how I go into every match, even though sometimes it's not the case. Sometimes they pull through for me, but I don't know. I feel like it's a good mentality to have.
Right. You know that your teammates are depending on you to win. You're playing first singles for us, right? And so they're depending on you to get us off to a good start at the first match. A lot of pressure. I mean, do you like that pressure?
Yeah, pressure is a privilege. You know what they say, but. I like putting it on myself because at the same time, if you lose, you feel bad. You feel like you let your team down, but if you win, you feel like you won it for them. So
now you were here 2 years ago. You transferred to a Division I institution. Which one?
I played at University of Hartford last year.
Okay.
But,
and had that experience. You came back. Any differences? What was it like being on a Division I men's tennis team?
It was a good experience, but. Like Danielle said before me, it's just a well-rounded experience here. I'm doing a lot of things, getting good education, playing on the team.
Right.
I like being the leader and captain, interning.
Right.
So.
What other kinds of things are you involved in on campus?
Looking and joining some clubs. I'm looking to do some community service in the off season. But
how important is community service?
Well, we're doing a few things as a team, but I don't know. I think it's a nice thing to do. So
now, what are we going to do? Are we going to do the leaf raking? I know we have leaf raking coming up, and
we're doing a walk run.
Okay.
And,
for for cancer or just the Relay for Life? What?
I'm not sure exactly which one it is,
Right.
but
Right, but you know, I mean, in Division III, certainly being a Division III student athlete, trying to manage all your time and being able to fit in, you know, things like community service, I certainly know benefits the people that we're helping. But certainly, when we talk to our student athletes, you know, sometimes they might not really be enthusiastic about it in the beginning, but then after they do it, they're like, geez, that was a great experience for me.
yeah, it makes you feel good. Just
Do you think those kinds of things are great to put on your resume as you try to build your professional?
oh yeah, of course, it can make you stand out to employers. That's what I'm hoping, at least. But
Right. Do you think that, because Coach Mitchell said tennis is a lifelong activity, it's not just 4 years here at SUNY Oneonta, I mean, the education and all that. I mean, using your tennis and your experience, I mean, do you think that'll help you in the long run in the business world? I mean,
well, right now I'm interning, and my boss told me that they like to pick winners in the business world because they know if you're an athlete, you know how to get the job done, know how to win. So I'm hoping that helps me out.
Now, certainly, we you know, student athletes in the past have said that. I mean, being a student athlete employer, you know, they give you a task to do. They know that A, you're competitive and you're going to try and do your best. And like you said, just winning, coming out on top, doing the best you can, certainly great experiences. And so Division III really does lend itself to those kinds of things.
Yeah, just being well-rounded.
Right.
And like Coach said, a lifetime sport. I hope to be back here playing in an alumni match and make a lot of money and donate to the program. So.
Now, in the business world, what are you hoping to do with the, what part of business do you like?
Well, I'm hoping to go into insurance, financial planning, and underwriting. So.
Okay. We actually have quite a few alums that are involved in that. So certainly, I know if you're looking into that, we could probably get you to some of those people that are already doing that have, you know, been very successful at that. So we'll keep that in mind as we go along. But certainly, what are you looking for this year? I mean, we're about almost done with our fall season. You know, got the big spring coming up. You know, what's the expectation for you?
Just hopefully we grow as a team. Almost everyone will be back next year, and then hopefully we get some recruits in as well. I don't know, I just really want to take on those best teams in the country, like Amherst, who was #1,
Yeah.
Middlebury was top 10. And, you know, I don't want them to say, oh, that was a 9-0 easy win. Like, I want them to say, you know, that was worth our time. Let's play them again next year. They really fought hard and were really competitive with us.
It's important for us to, you know, where we're not in a conference, to establish ourselves against those teams that are ranked in our region, which we have been, you know, in and out of the top 20 for the last few years because of the strength of our men's program, regardless of not being in a conference. So, I mean, when you finally, you know, after your last year of tennis, when you leave here, I mean, what's the legacy you want to leave?
I just want people to know that we are a winning program and we really cared. I don't know, a lot of people don't seem to know tennis around here, but hopefully by the time we're done,
that's an admirable goal.
Yeah.
Great. And we certainly know that we're already really there anyway because our program has done very well. But, you know, like you said, I mean, even getting to that next level, and who knows, maybe we'll get an NCAA berth out of it.
You know, hopefully someday be in a conference. So.
Well, I certainly want to wish you good luck all year long, and thanks for coming by tonight.
Thank you.
All right. Well, I'd like to thank all my guests from the men's and women's tennis program. And certainly you can always follow them on our website at www.oneontaathletics.com. I'd like to thank you for joining us this week, and we'll see you next time on Inside Red Dragon Sports.